What's going on, world? What's going on, Facebook? What's going on to all of our listeners right now on listenvisionlive.com, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you follow us? It is the Nitty Gritty Show, and we got a great one for you. Of course, I'm your boy, Jay DeCosta.
I'm your girl, Katniss.
I'm Tay Jordan.
And together we are
The Nitty Gritty.
Yeah, so we got a great show for y'all today. If any of you guys follow us on Facebook, a lot of time you already know how it's going to go down on the show. So for those that follow Tay Jordan or Mr. Juan DeCosta, Jay DeCosta, or Katniss, we've been having conversations already about today's show, so it's going to be a good one. But before we get into that, we always try to find out how was each other's week. So we'll start with you, Tay. How was your week this way?
Oh man, my week was cool. I was a little under the weather though. I had to go get two teeth pulled, so I wasn't too happy about that. I'm still kind of dealing with the swelling and some pain, but other than that, I mean, it was a blessing. Any time above ground is a blessing. So,
for sure.
What did I do fun this week? You know, being productive is fun to me at this point. So I mean, Black Juice got a lot more traffic this week, so that was great. Got some dope articles up. If you guys haven't checked out the blackjuice.com, make sure you go check out some of our new content.
That out.
But I had a good week.
My week was good. This was the very first full week back that I've had without the boot. As you guys know, I've been down. I was down for a while, but I'm back, so I was able to get back to working out, driving, doing errands for myself, feeling independent. I've always been an independent girl, so when I got injured, it was just like, oh, someone's dying, I'm dying. But now I'm back, so.
That's what's up. And of course, with me, y'all know I'm Jay DeCosta. My weeks is always groovy.
You're the man.
I'm the man in these streets. Like my weeks is always great. But definitely some big things that I did do. One of them is I'm gonna talk about later. But this week I had a chance to go kayaking. That was fun. You know what I'm saying? No people drown. No black people drown in the process of this. So guess what, black people, you guys can go into the water and do water sports. It's okay. It's all right. You won't dilute. You will not shrivel up. You will not go to the sunken place. You will be all right. We had fun. That was cool. Katniss was there. Our homegirl Derisha was out there. Shout out Derisha.
Hey, Derisha girl.
Yeah, so definitely, and look forward for more from the Nitty Gritty on that possibly soon. We're talking about some possibilities of trying to include, our fan base and some of our peoples into stuff like that. So be on the lookout. It's in discussions right now. We gotta get the approval of everybody, but let us figure it out, and then we're gonna get with y'all some more. But of course, we're gonna go get into some of the show. We always do a segment called "To Hell With." You know what? Let's just do the blessings too first. We'll say the "To Hell With" for last.
Okay.
Oh, you gonna save it for last? Huh?
Yeah. Cause it goes right into the show. So let's just breathe. All right. Blessings too though. DC Jazz Fest. Had the pleasure of being out there yesterday. Me and Katniss was out there. DC Jazz Fest. Shout out to
old folks, couple stuff.
I mean, yeah, it's that too. But at the same time, like, there was some young folks out there. There's some young folks out there. Like, I feel like that's the stuff that we all should take advantage of more often. Like, jazz is getting younger every day.
I love jazz, but I don't know enough to. So, like, did y'all go? Was it jazz in the park? Like, you make a palette and stuff, and it's like.
No, you can't even bring food in. They have vendors there.
They have vendors there. You bring your chairs. You bring your umbrellas. You just sit. You listen. Robert Glasper was there. And obviously he's dope. That's probably like the one person that I think I and many of the crowd wanted to see, but they brought him on last.
Yeah, of course you got to close out the show. He's the most popular guy out.
See, my jazz taste is very different, I think, than maybe him or older folks. Most people were like real like jazz, whereas me, I like more like a Jill Scott, neo soul.
I like him. That's kind of jazz.
But those people be out for like various events throughout the week. DC Jazz is like a 2-week event. You have a lot of those kind of artists out there. Like last year when I went, Ravi Coltrane brought out Talib Kweli and Bilal.
Wow.
Yeah, and like you've had people like Jill Scott. And all of them, they've been at various DC Jazz events before. Layla Hathaway was out. I forgot where she performed at, but she was out.
Yeah. I've seen her live before. She's
so DC Jazz is huge. So shout out to that. And Candace Springs was there. The Kenny Garrett Quintet. So that's like your hardcore jazz. Jacob Collier, who isn't? Jacob Collier is pretty live and worldly out there with his sound and dope.
Definitely different.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
He did his thing, plays everything. So you guys should check him out. And then of course Robert Glasper and the Experiment, because he got like 3 different groups. Right. He has Trio, he has Robert Glasper, then there's Robert Glasper Experiment, and the Experiment went in. Yeah, I mean, they tried to shut the show down exactly on time. They were still trying to play a little bit for us. So, my man Robert was rebelling against the system.
Hey.
So shout out to my man Rob. He took a picture with us. That was real dope. Also, shout out to fathers and all men that impact the lives of youth or anyone.
Definitely.
All right, today's your day.
Black
So
fathers matter.
That's right.
Yeah.
And today, because it's Father's Day, we're not even going to be just about. Well, of course, this show typically celebrates we celebrate the black first, but hey, shout out to all fathers out there.
Definitely.
All fathers.
All fathers and all
homes
role
need
models.
dads.
Yeah. So definitely to that. But now to hell with. All right. First one, I think everyone can agree with this one. Police getting away with killing black men. This has got to stop. Of course, if anybody's been following the Philando Castile case, the jury, didn't find that gentleman guilty of murder or manslaughter or anything like that. And, clearly we all watched the Facebook feed. There was clearly something wrong with that. Anytime the governor of that state spoke out against it, and you still can't get a conviction, that hurts.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is something that doesn't even hurt black people. I mean, people who just don't understand, who understand justice, watch this and was like, "That's crazy," So definitely to hell with that.
For sure.
It's happening too much, and I think the scariest thing was, and they set a precedent with Zimmerman when they allowed him to get off because he said he was scared. It became open season, and you started seeing like everybody's like, "Well, I was scared."
Yeah.
Well, the rules of engagement in the Army is we have to justify muzzle fire before we can shoot back. I was scared, but I still was able. I knew when to shoot.
Yeah.
So if I can do it in a war zone, surely you could do it. Over a traffic stop violation. And if you're scared, take your.
If you're
Never mind.
scared, get out the kitchen.
Yeah. There's a rap song that says something else. So I'm not gonna say that. But if you're scared, take your scared tail home. All right. Then the next to hell with, and this is where it goes down from here. This wasn't a unanimous to hell with, obviously.
Not at
all. To hell with congratulating single mothers on Father's Day. I get it. Some people, didn't have dad around.
Happy
but
Father's Day to my mom, by the way. Sheila Foster, I know you somewhere.
So look, I said to hell with that notion altogether just because on Mother's Day, you don't really hear a lot of people talking about their dads being the only mom in the house. Some people say that, but you don't hear it publicized to the point where it's almost the way some people put it out there. They do it almost to discredit fathers on Father's Day. This is Father's Day. I feel like with moms, I know a lot of people who didn't have their dad around, and what they do is they just go extra hard on Mother's Day. And then everybody goes hard on Mother's Day. Like, it's Father's Day, right? I got a card and I got some food, so that's dope. But
Are fatherless children not supposed to celebrate today?
if you have a male role model out there that you can holler at, I think that would be great. But if it's Father's Day, it is Father's Day.
Oh, can you
they
just
got a mom
celebrate
that could go super hard for.
Or
I get behind that. Go super hard for your mom on Mother's
I
Day.
go super hard for my mom on Mom's Day and Father's Day because she played both roles. And what's wrong with that? Why does?
But in a lot of ways, she still. She was just a mom that went hard. Okay, this works both ways. Like, mom's playing both sides, dad's playing both sides. A dad is a dad. He's not going to be your mom too. I wouldn't have a problem
if there was more single fathers. If there are single fathers that want to be congratulated on Mother's Day, I have no issue with that.
They're not. No, I'm going to say the same thing on Mother's Day. If I see somebody say,
but what is the concern of yours? Is what I'm saying. It doesn't take away from you as a father. You're still
I'm
being
calling
celebrated.
this foolishness out of the
So
way.
if a mother is being celebrated because she was mom and dad to her particular child, what does that concern you as a father? I don't understand.
Okay, so I'll chime in here. I think that we have to give credit where credit is due as far as there are, especially in the black community, there are a lot of single moms who are raising their kids. However, the caveat here is that I don't agree that we should celebrate single moms on Father's Day, and here's why. I feel like the presence of a man is very instrumental in the position that he plays in the lives of his kids.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, no matter how much a single mom does, and there are some phenomenal single mothers, she would never be able to do what a man can do. And I feel like a lot of times especially in our community, we always talk about we want our black men to step it up. We always want our black men to be more father figure. My thing is there are black men who are fathers. There are black men who are stepping it up, and we should not discredit their day because there were some black men who probably didn't step it up.
But how is it discrediting their day? Why can't I say Happy Father's Day to all the great dads and Happy Father's Day to my mom? I don't understand how that takes away from Happy Father's Day
Because
to
your mom,
great dads.
as far as the gender is concerned, your mom is not a man.
That's
Now,
like
Can't
getting
be
in
a
front of
father.
bullets that don't concern you. Like, if it's a shot to my absent dad, let that be a shot. Like, if it's not applicable to you, then stay out of it. Like, and that's what I feel about fathers that's being sensitive on this day. It's like, oh, you're bashing men, or oh, you knocking fathers. No, I'm acknowledging my mom and saying I appreciate her for being, to me, both mom and dad. And that's a personal relationship I have with my mom, and I'm not going to privatize it to make somebody else feel better. Like,
no, I don't think you should to make somebody else feel better. A lot of times when I ask people who didn't grow up with a dad in their house, I ask them, well, why is that the case? I like to ask probing questions just to ask. And a lot of times like, oh, he wasn't there, blah, 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 blah. And then I've even had some friends where later on in life, they got to talk to their dad, and their dad was just telling them some stuff. And once they started to really unpack stuff, their mother...
That's not always the case.
That's not always the case.
But I see, like,
it's not always the case, but there are scenarios and situations where their mother was keeping them from their father because they just couldn't get along. And then you have some women who are like, well, your dad is a deadbeat, he's not a good guy. And it's like, well, my question is, of course we all make mistakes. When you're dating someone, do we ever think about, would this person be...
It takes two to make a child.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of times we can't get into this victim blaming. At the end of the day, nobody wants to be left with a package that they didn't make alone. So for people to be like, well, you knew he wasn't nothing when you slept with him, that's not always the case. Every situation is different. So for people all down my timeline to be like, oh, well, she knew he wasn't nothing when she got with him. Sometimes, smiling faces tell lies sometimes. Sometimes it could be a guy, you think about his business, you lay with him, get knocked up, he show you his whole new true color. So every situation is different. Now, is there women that knew the dude wasn't nothing when she laid with him and she got knocked up? Of course. But it's every situation is not the same. So for people to be like, oh, you can't celebrate your mom on Father's Day, it's not her day. That's like telling me I can't make spaghetti on July 4th because it's a barbecue day. Excuse me? I can celebrate my holiday how I want to. We celebrate Jesus' birthday on Christmas. His birthday not on Christmas.
But Christmas isn't the day that Christ was born.
Exactly. But we celebrated that day.
But no, it's just the designated day that they chose to celebrate Christ.
As a Christian, I don't. So I don't celebrate.
See, so that's what I'm saying. I think that's like Caitlyn Jenner being
others.
said to be Woman of the Year. Now, as a woman, should we be offended? We have a right to, but at the
Y'all
end of the day,
should be offended.
people can do and say what they want to do. People can honor who they want to.
But okay,
I can honor my mom on Father's Day. That's my prerogative.
But I have a universal thought.
But if you had kids, right, and let's say, for instance, you decided to have the dad, and the dad was in their life, would you tell them that they need to honor your mother for being a grandmother, for playing both roles in your life?
Wait, say that again?
If you had kids, right, would
Right.
you tell your kids to still honor your mother on Father's Day as being the one that raised you? Would that be your
Tell them to. I've been giving my mom Mother and Father's Day cards since I was a child. It's not about to change because it hurts present fathers' feelings. So it's if my children, you say I'm going to always give my mom Father's Day cards. So yeah, my children will probably do the same as well. I don't have a problem with that.
But what would that be? Would that bother the father?
Not in that case. Yeah, they're not. Their father would be present. Hopefully, I get married and have children and do it the right way. So why would they give my mom Father's Day cards? I'll give my mom Father's Day cards for sure.
I'm just asking if you had kids and you still gave your mother a Father's Day card, and your kids now have a father figure. I'm just wondering, what do you think that possibly could tell them or show them? Not that
It'll show them that they don't have a grandfather, and their mom still gives their grandmother Father's Day cards, and that's the truth.
Okay.
They don't have a grandfather on their mom's side.
I feel like there is definitely, this is a topic that's very sensitive because I do know a lot of people who take this stance the same way you do. It's not like you're the only one. There are a lot of people who do take this stance, but me, I guess because I did have a father,
and I think that's what the experiences that y'all speak from is coming from experience. I think honestly, to be honest, I don't think it's really something that you guys can rightfully speak on because that's not y'all reality.
Well, I have a friend that didn't have a father, and once my father broke it down, to me, he basically was just like, a lot of times people celebrate women because women are the ones that birth the kid. A lot of women are the ones subsequently when something happens between mom and dad, generally the system gives the kids to the mom. So just moms are just always generally
or it's
there.
not even generally the system gives them to the parent, to the mom. It's just generally 9 times out of 10 the mom is the one that's left standing and that's still there.
But that is not the case in a lot of situations.
Exactly, and that's why I said every situation is different. But for the most part, we can look at statistics. Statistics show there's way more single parent mothers than what there is single parent black fathers. That just is what it is.
We got a lot of video too that's going to actually address all of that and give some like real facts to that. But I will say that I think the story that we as blacks are always pushing is that the mom is left with the kids. But there are a lot of situations where whether financially it was advantageous or spitefully it was advantageous, whatever the situation may be. And I'm talking about for the dads that want to be involved. I think that's right.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I just get so irked with that because it's always a narrative to let fathers off the hook. It's like, why isn't he there? Oh, the mom must have was spiteful. Oh, she knew he wasn't. He just was a punk. Like that is what it is.
I clearly said before that.
So we need to get off this. Well, it was different instances. Oh, well, the system gave it to her.
Wait a minute. But what I clearly said, understand what I said out of my mouth, which was, in the case where fathers want to be involved, I understand there's a group of punks out there that don't want to be involved.
A large number.
I don't know if it's as large as we think it is, and there's some other stuff to talk about according to that. However, but specifically as to what I am directing to, there are a large number of fathers who want to be involved.
But white supremacy won't let them.
No, I'm referring to the woman sometimes because maybe it's financially advantageous or maybe it's spitefully advantageous, won't let a man around. And that's a reality that men can talk to.
Is it a reality for a man to say she won't let me see my kids?
Yes. Did you see that Facebook?
He needs to do take care of his business and go get a lawyer. If it's really about that, if he really about that life and he want to be his child's life, then can't no woman be like, you can't see your kids. Not happening.
Do you know how long that process takes when you get a lawyer?
Then do it. I don't want to hear excuses. It's like, oh, I didn't try because it cost too much money. It take too long. No, you don't care that much then.
But take from a legal standpoint, there are some women that have legal parameters that actually it specifies you can if you don't follow this legal document, they can't.
You can get locked up and you never see your kids.
Yeah. So
what sense does that make to break the law? If someone has a legal documentation piece of paper blocking you from a certain thing, and you just say
blocking you to see your kid?
Yes, there are legal documents that do that.
Well, okay, explain. How you go get blocked to see your kid? You have parental rights. You signed the birth certificate. You 99.9% the father. Tell me what document exists that says you can't see your children.
If you're going through the divorce, I know of these situations. Trust me. If you're going through a divorce, if they have legal documentation that they can use to their advantage for whatever reason to keep a dad away, if you break that, it is very clear, fine print. You go within 50 feet of the child or whatever like that.
So that's a protection order to keep dad from children, and you tell me that exists?
That exists. And maybe you need to do a little bit more research on that level before you speak about that. But I can tell you, I know for it. I know.
What's the name of this document? You know something
any kind of custody order, any visitation rights, all that.
Okay, so visitation is different than a protection order or something to be like you can't see your children.
Both of them can work the same way, and it's one of those things you probably should do a little bit more research on.
But you just telling me you got experience, so just tell me about it.
Clearly I don't talk. First of all, with my family, I'm never like me. I have a little bit more sense than that. I'm not going to ever dog a woman that I had a child with because guess what? At some point we made a baby. So at some point I cared enough about them to make a baby with them. So me personally, I have no reason to come on the air and dog them because if you ask me anything,
this isn't an invitation to dog you.
But I'm just saying, like me personally, I'm never going to say anything like negative about them personally because I don't have a reason to. You get what I'm saying? Like. I'm just not. And then plus, this is the information age. My kids can come back and watch this thing any day. They're not going to have me on here saying anything about them.
Right. All right. So I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm going to research to try to find this document that says fathers.
All right, please. Don't worry. I'll hook you all up. Cool. But we're going to go a little bit more into the show because this is a hot topic. And I already know it's going to be fire through the whole day. We're not even really into the show yet. Y'all see it's already fireworks and guns blazing.
I'm chilling.
But no, but it's good. But it's a conversation that should be had. We're going to play our first video. This is a really good one. They're actually this is a group that did this thing called like One Word. And they have a bunch of great clips out there. And I'm borrowing one of theirs on fathers. And they're asking a bunch of black men and black young men and older men, when you hear the word father, what do you think? But anyways, I'm going to let the video play. Check it out. It's really dope.
Okay.
Father. a blessing.
Arrogant. He does not know how to say, I am wrong.
Supposed to be role model.
Very selfish.
Supporting.
Hustler. Men haven't gotten away from their traditional roles, which is to be the provider and the protector of their families. And to do so, you must be a hustler.
Authority. Tough love.
Double and an angel.
Gone. He's never there. He's never around. He's an asshole.
Gone as well. He had a separate family. He wasn't really there in the life. We're a little bit closer now, but up until the recent years, definitely out of the picture.
Missing. Fathers are missing in the black community. I think I was the only one of any of my black friends whose dad was around growing up.
Me, I raised myself along with my mom. I'm the oldest out of 4 children. I found mine. I went on a search and I found my father, and and that was a really interesting journey. I think it's important that you find your father and know who they are, because when you don't know your father, you don't know a segment of who you are.
Love, because I love my father since I don't see him that much.
Awesome.
Brave.
Nice.
Hero. A strong male.
Very wise man. Gave me a lot of wisdom and what I like to say, game.
Strong.
Caretaker.
Oh man, my dad's the man. Patient. Trust. He instilled in me the means that trust is everything.
Father.
The best. You get to raise a child. All your conviction, all your belief, all your beauty, all your ugly, everything goes into that child, and hopefully that child comes out 10 times better. I think we mostly try to do that. It's your only opportunity to start again with something you love more than love itself, more than life itself.
I really like that video right there because, and also, looking at this panel, just us as hosts, we all have different feelings about the word father, what it means to us, and then what emotions it brings up, right? Mm-hmm. And I think looking at these men and these individuals talk about, you hear some say that, oh man, when I think hero, I think, stubborn, I think, hard, right? And I guess that depends, or as a couple of them said, I think it was like 2 different people said gone, not there, not present, right? So it was definitely a response across. But what I like is that even though gone and not present was a reality for some, there are still others, and plenty of them on that video, that had positive thoughts,
and that's beautiful
about what that is. And I think, what I would just like to see us do as a people, bring that up some more, that yes, there's a situation where this happens, but then there's also statistical data that says the negative of what our people see is not the only reality. And it's not that it's a minority reality that the positives are happening. It's a much larger reality than what we like to address. And, fathers are not shown in other homes as well. So, I don't know. Anyways, my question to you guys is, what do you think shapes your opinions about fatherhood? I think that's my opinion. I think it's just how you grow up. Mm-hmm. But is there like a changing point ever for that? Is it some way to have that thought process ever revitalized or renewed to something better?
I think so. My big thing is, it's a sensitive topic because a lot of people might feel as though I'm not experienced enough to talk about this. But I feel like when you have a child, when you decide with a man and woman, there should be some kind of maturity level, all pettiness aside, but like, let's do what's best for the kids. And generally speaking, from what I can see and hear, that's just not the case. And so for whatever reason, kids, grow up in this very volatile kind of back and forth, not knowing if dad is around or where he's at. And then dad possibly might go over to another family and raise their kids or what so have you. And what happens is it starts at home. So when a mom and dad is in the house, I feel like it can help when it comes to, constructing one's views of love, relationships. You know what I mean? It's very important for a dad to be there. In a lot of cases too, like Tay said, sometimes the dad chooses not to be in the home. And I don't really know why that's the case. I don't know if it's, they couldn't get along with the mom. I don't know if because maybe they themselves didn't have a father. So maybe they didn't know or see it to know, like, okay, this is how I am. This is how a man is supposed to act. I don't know what it is. I'm going to speak for my father. Hi, Dad, if you're watching. I'm not going to go too deep into my dad's past because I don't want to do that. But my dad's father divorced my grandmother for some serious situations. And when my father was 11, up until the time he was 11 into a full grown adult, he was raised by a single parent mom. So my father said that when he met my mom, he made a decision that I want to marry this woman and I want to make sure that I have all of my kids by the same woman because I want to be present in her home. He didn't want the home to be broken like he came from. He could have easily fell into the cycle of, exactly, I came from a broken home, my dad did it, but he wanted to break the curse. So for women and for men who don't have a father at home, you have to make a conscious decision to break the curse. Sitting around year after year being upset with your father, some of which is deceased, which is to me just wasted energy because you're being mad at someone who's not even alive. You have to make a decision to break the curse. You have to want a family to be there. And wanting a family to be there means you have to make conscious decisions. Sometimes setting aside your pride, sometimes compromising in areas that make you vulnerable, but you're doing it because of the kids. There are some couples that stay together and they probably shouldn't still be together, but they do it because of the kids.
Yeah, that's a whole other. I don't know if that's not necessarily healthy either. But
no.
What I would say, to your point though, I do agree. I think the parents got to make a conscious decision. Like for instance, I came from a broken home. My mom was a single parent, and not to any of her doing, my dad just didn't want to be involved, which is cool. But I will say, being that I come from a product of a single parent household, I'm not married yet. I don't have children yet, but when I do, I'm going to make it my purpose and stay committed to making sure that I give my children the healthy support that they need from both parents, because I do realize, even in my father's absence, I realize how important a father is. As a woman today, I probably got daddy issues, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I mean, it's just natural. But I think a father's presence is imperative. A father's absence can be detrimental. And I think that instead of us, though we need to make a conscious effort, a lot of people use the excuse, well, he don't know how to be a father, he didn't have a father. That's why it's so important that we make sure fathers are present, because he needs to be able to show his son how to treat a woman, how to treat his children, how to be there for his children. But you can't necessarily use that as excuse, well, I didn't have a father, so, don't expect much from me. I'm not going to be a good dad either. No, you're not off the hook that much either. But I think at the same time, we as a people, we cannot afford to coddle each other. Like, you can't be like, yes, I understand you want to have this narrative like, well, it's great dads out here as well. I commend you. That's awesome. We need more people like you. But at the same time, we also need those fathers instead of being sensitive on their day, like somebody's taken away from them. I think we also need to put the onus and hold them accountable and put the responsibility on their shoulders that if you have friends, you shouldn't have deadbeat friends. You can't have friends in your circle that's not a father. Like, you can't have, instead of us being like, well, you need to celebrate me. First of all, we celebrate you, but it's a job you should be doing as well. So, like, it's only, I feel like black fathers have this thing like, I ain't got to be here, because a lot of us ain't. And it's like, no, not really. Like, that may be true, but it don't mean you get extra credit because you are here. And I think a lot of black fathers have that mindset. It's like, I'm doing something extra because I could 7 times out of 10, people that look like me and men that's like me and come from where I'm from is not there. So you need to be giving me extra credit. It's like, no, we give you a pat on the back. I give you a pat on the back. Like, my mom had me, my father had me. Like, at the end of the day, it's just something that you should do. But I do think black men need to take responsibility to make sure that other black men is doing what they're supposed to do. And instead of them saying that you need to credit me, that's cool. But at the same time, instead of trying to be credited and celebrated, I think you need to put the onus on yourself to be like, yes, I'm present, but there's so many black fathers that's not present. Like, what am I going to do to make sure that the what I have inside, while I'm present, what made me be present, what am I going to do to give to this other brother to make sure that he's present to his seeds? And that's how I feel.
I can, and like I said, I can agree with some of that, right? I definitely don't believe in coddling men for not doing their job. I just say that keep in mind that some men, and I'm one of them, none of my kids live in the D.C. area. They live in Tennessee. So I do as much from a distance as I can. And then when I get time,
you probably do more at a distance than a lot of brothers do.
I financially do what I'm supposed to do. And then I make my phone calls. You know, I make my trips down there. My parents are still very involved in their life. But, I mean, dads long to be around their kids more if they can. I feel like the best thing to do is to be consistent and to be at least an example of something they can look up to when they're not around. And then also it comes, and that's when I want to like address quantity over quality. So there's a lot of great moms out there and there's a lot of great dads out there, but to both of them, you have some people who are around but still not present. So I have friends that I knew that grew up with dads and moms that were in the house but wasn't present. And they made and those people grew up to be men and women who made bad decisions because they didn't get quality over quantity. Like we wasn't in our parents' faces 24/7, but I got quality from my mom and my dad. Mamie and Herman did a great job, in my opinion, with the three of us. And as a result, me and my brothers have all taken on children that we haven't fathered and taken care of them, as well as trying to take care of our own, because we just believe in pouring into the lives of other young men. My brothers do a mentor program through their football team, and they really pour into these young men's lives. I also seen this at my church. Shout out to Michael Cook. Also shout out to Tiki Laos. These men never had any children of their own, them or their wives. But I seen these kind of men take on the young men at the church.
And we need that.
Teach them how to change a tire. Teach them how to hammer a nail. And so there's a lot of men out there. And the reason why men need to be celebrated on Father's Day, because there are a lot of men out there taking up the mantle. And then even for a lot of these men and women who didn't have a father figure in their life, there was sometimes a male around present. Maybe not your mom's boyfriend, or a later relationship that came on, maybe not even uncle, but maybe that one male school teacher that you felt like, hey, this is a man in my life that had taught me some stuff about men. This was this old head that pulled me aside and gave me that. Those are the people that we shout out on Father's Day when there was no fathers present. Same thing for mothers. If you had no mother around, instead of talking about, well, I'm going to celebrate my father today because my mother, no, that's some bull crap too. Okay, you had no mother around, but how about that woman that became a nurturer to you? That you look at like a mother figure. I mean, my parents were both around. As far as my mom and my stepdad. My biological father wasn't around, and he might be in his feels about that. But the truth was, he wasn't around. But I don't harp on the fact that my biological father wasn't around because my dad, Herman, was there the whole time.
But is that going to change anything? Is that kind of you letting your father off the hook? You not talking about it? I'm not saying harp on it, but what good does it do to be like, I'm just not going to talk about it?
Well, what good does it does for me to harp on it?
I'm not saying
no. I'm answering the question.
Don't act like it didn't exist, though.
No, but my thing is, it's not that I don't act like as if it exists. I choose to focus on something greater, which is the great effect that Herman Altar had on my life.
Right, and I feel the same
like, that's
way.
why I'm that bitter about.
Because I didn't have a father, I choose to just focus on who the parent that was there, which happened to be my mom. I just don't get caught up in gender. Yes, it's Dad's Day, it's Father's Day, but at the end of the day, I guess what I'm trying to understand, you as a father, what is the sensitivity, or you take it as me being insensitive, for me saying Happy Father's Day to my mom. Personally, what does it do to you?
I have the same feeling I have on it when on Mother's Day, if somebody is to say, and this, I've only seen it once. If somebody says on Mother's Day, yeah, I'm going to shout out my dad because he was the only one that held it down. All right, then do something big for him on Father's Day. Today is Mother's Day. Today we're celebrating women who took on that role. Today is their day. Let's just talk about, and we do it big for the moms.
But I'm saying, what does it take away from you?
I mean,
a person saying Happy Father's Day to a mom.
Me personally, it doesn't bother me, but when I see it, I do know there's something wrong with it because everybody know it comes from a place, and you can't say, even now, you've already proved it in this conversation. When you do it, it doesn't really come from a place of celebration as much as it comes from a place of spite towards your personal father.
You can take it how you want, but I take it as I'm celebrating my mom because in my head she was both parents. Like, she filled the void. So can't nobody sit here and tell me that what I'm doing is wrong and saying this is smack in the face to people I ain't even never met and who has no relevancy to me telling my mom who raised me Happy Father's Day, Ma. Like,
I think you raised a valid point. A conversation ago where you were saying daddy issues. I think step one for healing our people and moving into a better direction is admitting that we have daddy issues. You know, a lot of us have these daddy issues. A lot of men, let's talk about men having daddy issues, and because of it, they have this rage towards men, and then their interactions with women is definitely not one that's necessarily positive. And then two, he raised a valid point about environments. There are some moms who, they were present in their kids' life, but they did a terrible job. Okay, you yell at your kids, you cuss at your kids, you tell your son, you just like your dad, you ain't gonna be nothing. That's not positive either. But yet and still, we want to celebrate this mom as being dad. That ain't a good dad or a good mom.
Yeah, because you got moms out here got all the kids, but then they doing twerk videos in front of the kids.
So what I want to say is that, again, it comes back to when you decide to have sex. Let's start with step one.
Exactly.
When you decide to have sex, that means that you are taking on the responsibility of possibly procreation. And when you do that, it's a sacrifice. It's a responsibility. There's a lot that goes into parenthood that I don't think many people really realize. You know, we got kids out here being raised by their grandparents. You got kids out here being raised by people other than their biological parents, which is okay. But if you're going to be the one running around on Mother's Day and Father's Day like, they're celebrating me, I'm a mom, I'm a dad, then play the role correctly.
Yeah,
and be a quality parent, meaning you shouldn't be turning up out here wearing what young folks is wearing. You about age 50, act your age. I know that's mean,
a lot of people out here that got
but it's real.
Kids, but then they living with mama, and mama's doing primarily the raising. So let's act like that don't.
Well, again, that goes back to the saying that can no woman teach a man how to be a man, which is true. So it's only so much. Like realistically speaking, of course, a mom can't be a father. But at the end of the day, when a mother calls herself playing two roles, that basically just means she's not trying to be a man. That basically means that she's filling a void that parent should have, and he's not. So life still got to go on.
And then I do admit there are some moms honestly playing both roles, but that's not always the case. This next video, I want to go ahead and play it because it actually touches to a lot of this stuff, and then we're going to keep on having that conversation. But I want to play that next video. Shout out to PragerU. PragerU has a lot of great videos out there. They're easy to watch too. Great instructionals on various facets that deal with the black community, but sometimes there's other things like economics. So we're going to play that next video, and I think it's going to touch on a lot of that, and we'll come back to it.
Years ago, I interviewed Kwesi Mfume, then the president of the NAACP. As between the presence of white racism and the absence of black fathers, I asked him, which poses the bigger threat to the black community? Without missing a beat, he said, the absence of black fathers. It was President Barack Obama who said, we all know these statistics, that children who grow up without a father are 5 times more likely to live in poverty and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in prison. The Journal of Research on Adolescence confirms that even after controlling for varying levels of household income, kids in father-absent homes are more likely to end up in jail. And kids who never had a father in the house are the most likely to wind up behind bars. In 1960, 5% of America's children entered the world without a mother and father married to each other. By 1980, it was 18%. By 2000, it had risen to 33%, and 15 years later, the number reached 41%. For blacks, even during slavery, when marriage for slaves was illegal, black children were more likely than today to be raised by both their mother and father. Economist Walter Williams has written that, according to census data from 1890 to 1940, a black child was more likely to grow up with married parents than a white child. For blacks, out-of-wedlock births have gone from 25% in 1965 to 73% in 2015. For whites, from less than 5% to over 25%, and for Hispanics, out-of-wedlock births have risen to 53%. What happened to fathers? The answer is found in a basic law of economics. If you subsidize undesirable behavior, you will get more undesirable behavior. In 1949, the nation's poverty rate was 34%. By 1965, it was cut in half to 17%, all before President Lyndon Johnson's so-called war on poverty. But after that war began in 1965, poverty began to flatline. From 1965 until now, the government has spent over $20 trillion to fight poverty. The poverty rate has remained unchanged, but the relationship between poor men and women has changed dramatically. That's because our generous welfare system allows women, in effect, to marry the government. And this makes it all too easy for men to abandon their traditional moral and financial responsibilities. Psychologists call such dependency learned helplessness. How do we know that the welfare state creates disincentives that hurt the very people we're trying to help? They tell us. In 1985, the Los Angeles Times asked both the poor and the non-poor whether poor women often have children to get additional benefits. Most of the non-poor respondents said no. However, 64% of poor respondents said yes. Now, who do you think is in a better position to know? Tupac Shakur, the late rapper, once said, "I know for a fact that had I had a father, I'd have some discipline, I'd have more confidence." He admitted he began running with gangs because he wanted the things a father gives to a child, especially to a boy: structure and protection. Your mother cannot calm you down the way a man can, Shakur said. You need a man to teach you how to be a man. In my book, Dear Father, Dear Son, I write about my rough, tough World War II Marine Staff Sergeant dad. Born in the Jim Crow South of Athens, Georgia, he was 14 at the start of the Great Depression. Growing up, I watched my father work 2 full-time jobs as a janitor. He also cooked for a rich family on the weekends and somehow managed to go to night school to get his GED. When I was 10, my father opened a small restaurant that he ran until he retired in his mid-80s. He was never angry or bitter and insisted that today's America was very different from the world of racial segregation and limited opportunity in which he grew up. Hard work wins, he told me and my brothers. You get out of life what you put into it. You can't control the outcome, but you are 100% in control of the effort. And before blaming other people, go to the nearest mirror and ask yourself, what could I have done to change the outcome? This advice shaped my life. Fathers matter. Until we have a government policy that makes that its first priority, nothing will change. I'm Larry Elder for Prager University.
To subscribe to our YouTube channel, click here. To help keep our videos free, donate.
Yeah, so I really like that video because it hits a lot of cold facts, and like we were just chatting about it even as the video is going. But one thing I wanted to bring up even before we get to chatting, just to put this disclaimer out there: men, make sure I'm looking out there. That's not the excuse to say financially you don't have to be there for your kids or you don't have to be around because all the government is now in conspiracy against you. That might be a true thing, but you can fight past that, right? Just because the legal system may have you in a certain type of box doesn't mean there's not ways to operate within those parameters to do something, right? So not an excuse towards you. And some women might be offended watching this, but at the same time, we didn't create that video. We didn't create those facts that are out there. And I've researched this stuff before, and they're true. And we were talking about mindset, but I'm gonna let both of y'all jump in. You biting your lips right now, so Tay Tay like nah. So like Tay.
No, well, what I was gonna say is the statistics are interesting, and they are what they are. Numbers, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. What I would like to do more research on, the part where it says that women on welfare and government assistance actually married the government. I do believe that. Okay, let me just get some background. Okay, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm actually independent, but a lot of times I vote democratically. I do have very left-wing ideas on, well, actually, I guess that would be right-wing ideals on the welfare system. Mm-hmm. I do think sometimes can be a learned helplessness. I agree with that. But this whole part about women on the system actually decide to have more children to get more benefits on the system, that's hard for me to believe. And I know we were talking about mindsets. It just doesn't make sense, even from a bad mindset, where it would make sense to have more children to get more peanuts. Like, because that's really what you're doing. The welfare system is not enough. I guess it's okay to have a very mediocre way of life, and you're going to just enough to get ahead. But to be able to be like, I'm gonna have 4 or 5, pop out 6, 7 kids to get more welfare checks makes no sense to me.
But it also doesn't make any sense to go out there and buy a $300 pair of Jordans.
You're right. That's what I think it should
live in the hood or to buy a
flat screen TV.
A flat screen.
Well, people's priorities are wrong. I agree with that.
Yeah, the same mentality allows that to happen. It's impoverished.
Yeah, that's true. What I was going to say about the welfare system and about my ideas, I do think it should be a cap. Like, you shouldn't be able to be on Section 8 and welfare for a lifetime. Like,
it should be like a rolling process. It should be like a 3, then 5 year,
like,
and then
I think 5 years is enough time to get your stuff together.
Because foreigners
or stop having kids. One of them.
Foreigners come here and then they don't stay on it long. They come here, they get on it, and they're on to the next thing.
People do get complacent, and coming from, like I said, I mean, it's no shame in my game. I am who I am, and my background is what helped made me. Like, I came from, my mom was on the system. I don't think my mom is the type of person that's like decided to keep having kids to like keep getting those checks. And the part I took exception with, as far as like, I don't think being on the system isn't a rightful justification for men to be like, well, you're on the system, so I'm just gonna walk. It makes it easier for me to walk.
That's why
that makes no sense.
That's like the first thing I said. Like, that's not cool.
But there are some people. Okay, as crazy as it sounds, when I used to work in Medicaid and talk to different people, I ask a lot of questions. I'm a little nosy. There are some people who are like, yeah, I can't even marry my girl because if I marry her, you know what I'm saying, she ain't gonna be able to get that government assistance.
And that's facts. I know
and
a bunch of couples.
It's like,
wait,
what?
So if you're on welfare, you can't be married?
No. So once you get married, it changes. Your financial status will bump up. So therefore, you'll lose your benefits.
Well, you just gotta go around the system.
No.
Like,
then you go to jail. So people know this. There are people out there. Why you think you see so many people getting married?
People work the system all day life. People sell food stamps.
After little JoJo go to high school, go to college, all of a sudden, now the mom and the dad getting married for the first time because now, we can't get any more benefits that way, so let's go ahead and get married.
Well, that mean the man ain't making enough. If your wife still got to be on the system, then that's like. That's kind of your fault, bro.
But some of the women tell him, I don't want to marry you because I want to. There are some women
who like that welfare is her independence.
For example,
yes.
And also when it comes to child support, there are some women that I personally know. I'm not gonna call you out. They got 2 or 3 baby daddies getting checks. And they got disability check because for whatever reason, and they got some other kind of alien check, and
so they're
not trying to get married because if they get married, their child support percentage from each of the baby daddies will have to go down
because now their income standard is different.
Because now there's another man bringing more money into that household. So there are some people.
So maybe we should just make a
law
women
who have masterminded this whole thing. They got the whole game figured out. I'm like. What you think All-Star Weekend is about? It's about getting. Hold on,
that's different though. They trying to update. They trying to elevate their lifestyle instead of dealing with Pookie and.
It's the same mindset.
It's the same mindset.
As far as you don't want to work and you just want to have whatever you can get, and you better believe people. Sometimes people get married in California, period, because in California, it's when you get divorced, they have laws set in place where women can get alimony even if you haven't been married for 10 years.
I guess my thing is, what does that mean for absent fathers not being there? Okay, you can't marry her. Okay, cool. She don't want you to marry her. That don't mean don't be a father to your junior. That don't mean
I don't think it means to be a father, but I do think if I was a man, this is me speaking, I have to put myself in other people's shoes sometimes. If I was a man and I had kids and I knew that the only reason why this woman really wanted to be with me is because of my money, that would really offend me. However, there are some men who are only with women because they're attractive. So I can't really feel that bad for you.
That's a whole nother topic.
But there are some men who really are nice guys, like the geeky guys who, do the Googles and stuff like that, who really they think this hot chick is really into them, and they kind of find out they're only with them for their money. Then that makes you not want to even be around the woman. And if you have to be around the woman to be around your kids, it's going to be, again.
Come on, Trina.
Maturity. Listen, I'm not saying it's okay. I already said from the very beginning of this episode.
You're giving justification or
I'm not giving justification, but what I am saying is that if someone is using me for my money, like my mindset would be, why can't I raise the kids? Or why can't the kids be with me? And you figure it out and you come over here because I'm the one with the financial backing. You don't have anything to bring to the table.
That may be the case.
Court system, girl, is definitely biased towards
the court system. Going to decide who's the fittest parent.
No, not always.
The court system is that it's kind of like how women can't be as sexual as men because we're called hoes or whatever. Okay, that's a benefit that men have when it comes to sexuality. When it comes to child support and whatnot, women have the bigger benefit and the greater
in life. You got some positives and you got some advantages and you got some disadvantages, and it's just like you got to play the card that your gender was dealt.
Because chime in, hold up 1 second.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, I gotta fight my way in. This is what happened when you deal with black women.
Here we go.
I love it, sisters. But you gotta fight your way in. But no, check this out though. But seriously, on the other note, just like you talk about women scamming the system to save money, there's men that scam the system the same way. There are some men, I know men that I had known in Tennessee, I ain't gonna call y'all out, that refuse to make more money, refuse to try to go get better jobs.
Or work under the table even.
They refuse to get better incomes because they know that more child support is gonna be taken out. I think that's stupid. Just make more money. Eventually, if they could take $500,000, at least you still got $500,000. I'd rather ball it like that.
I don't know. I don't care if I'm filthy rich, like $30,000 a month on some child support.
But depending on the state, they justify to take half of your income. So you could be out there balling, but then when you look at your gross, you like, man, I did it. Then you look at your net, be like, not really. You know what I'm saying? And so there's some men out there afraid to actually go further, and that's a weak mindset, mind you.
Or they just need to wrap it up.
That's a weak mindset. But when I address weakness, I'm not going to be biased and try to act. I'm not going to just jump on women, and I'm not going to just jump on men. I'm going to address the whole issue. There are women out there refusing to get married, having more babies, scamming the system so they can still get whatever kind of benefits come to them, because instead of just working hard to get something better. And then there's men out there allowing a woman to say, oh yeah, baby, I guess we won't get married so we can keep on getting this benefit. That's lame. Or you're not going to take a better paying job because some more child support going to come out of it? Really? That's how you think? That's how broken? And that speaks to a different place, which talks about the broken mentality of our people. But I like to try to end some things on a decent note. We got a little. Can I play one more video? Do we got a little time?
Yeah.
Can I play one more video?
Go
Just
ahead,
one more.
real quick.
I got one that has some really good stats. So we're gonna play that third video, the next video, because I think that's all we got time for.
Well, okay.
It's not that long.
Can we comment on it?
Yeah. Go ahead.
The program yesterday. Cheney and Bush's had said he was going to send me a link. Think Progress had the results of a survey. I'm not sure where this survey came from. I can't get it to. Here it is. A survey, and this speaks to the response of the respectability politics, which we didn't get into. I didn't get into too much with Professor Taylor, but the idea that the response is that this is about individual moral responsibility and this broader sort of narrative that perpetuates this idea that somehow black communities are morally degraded, and we don't see the sort of the presence of fathers there working with their kids. And CDC, apparently, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, published new data on the involvement of fathers with their children. And they broke it down. One of the things that they did was to break it down between white, Latino, and black. And from what I gather, because for some reason the white numbers are not there, but 12.5% of black fathers are not living with their kids, which is the highest figure, as opposed to 8.6 with Latinos. Unclear what it is with whites. But for the father living with kids, African Americans spend more time with their children under the age of 5 than do white or Latino fathers. Same too, or very close when it comes to children between 5 and 18.
So really, all that to really just say that last segment, and I think there's something positive to talk about with our community and our black men, and I think I see this more so than a lot of the other communities. I mean, growing up, the black men I typically see in the home are normally like really involved in a lot of different ways, like really with the rearing of the children. typically it's not commonplace with black fathers to see kids that's acting a fool out in public. Like if we was out with our dad, well, it didn't matter who we was with. Both of my parents was shoving out that whip. But if we was out with our dads, we wasn't acting the monkey with them. You get what I'm saying? Like dad gonna let you know. But with other cultures, sometimes it's like, do you even see your kid? Like,
right.
Like pay attention. Like he about to fall off the rail. You get what I'm saying? I mean,
this is true.
Yeah, I think in conclusion for me, my thing is I do not believe that we should be celebrating mothers on Father's Day, just on the simple fact of, I think the narrative often in the black community is that fathers aren't in the house, and that's just not the real narrative. And I also feel like when they do these stats, they usually do it in an impoverished area where there probably is a higher likelihood of fathers not being there. When you go into a middle class area, generally speaking, you will see a father there. There are a lot of great black men doing great things for their kids, and I feel like that narrative is not shown, and I feel like I want to be able to celebrate those men. So that's my conclusion.
In my conclusion, I would like to say Happy Father's Day to my beautiful mom, Sheila Foster. And I would say that everyone is responsible to living their narrative. And actually, Happy Father's Day to all the great fathers out there. Keep doing a great job. And yeah, man, everybody be a father to your kids, man. That's all. Like, that's all. Take care of your responsibilities.
I guess my concluding thoughts. Of course, this conversation's not done. If y'all been on Tay Jordan's page, the conversation started 2 hours ago, okay? But we gonna keep it going. We gonna keep it going. Shout out to everybody that's been on that conversation. But
make sure.
Oh,
go ahead.
Oh,
I'm
my
sorry.
bad. I want to shout out a couple people real quick, couple of fathers. Shout out Jerome Scott. Shout out Herman Altar. Shout out Richard Altar. Shout out Nathaniel Altar. Shout out to Matthew Watley and all the fathers like Anthony Hayter, Brother Will Jawando, all these great men over there at Reed Temple. Also, shout out to my man Jason Carver. Shout out to my man Stephen Duck Williams. Shout out to everybody that. Shout out to my man Rodney Lyons. A lot of great fathers out there. If I missed you, it's just because we run out of time and I'm getting like lost for words and stuff.
Shout out to my father, Minister Michael L. Hawkins. I love you, Daddy.
Shout out to my homies. That's great dads. Martez, Jeremiah, Tyler. Man, the list is too long. Musa, Ali, all of you great dads and pillars in your community. Shout outs to you.
Where can you find us?
Make sure you follow us on IG at The Nitty Gritty Show. You can follow us on Twitter as well, TBJ_Nitty Gritty. And of course, like our Facebook page, The Nitty Gritty Show.
That's what's up. So it's been another great show. Keep the conversation going. But we out of here. It's hot. It's still Sunday. Let's go party.
Let go.
Let go. It's the